We are on part 3. So let's just talk about what's going on. Uh, we're using Crystal Violet, and we already tracked using Beer's law how we could get from absorbance to concentration, right? Transmittance, absorbance, concentration. So we have that done for us. We now know that when the spectrophotometer or when our little tool up here spits out a transmittance, we can get that into concentration of Crystal Violet. Now, one thing that's interesting is the whole goal of this lab is to determine the rate law for crystal violet. And a rate law is always rate equals K multiplied by the reactants to their order. And so, one thing we're running into is we have two reactants. We have crystal violet and we have sodium hydroxide. But in this lab, we're only determining it with respect to crystal violet to start. So, what we are doing is we're going to do something called swamping. The crystal violet that they're putting in this cuvette has a pretty low concentration. And then they're putting in a high concentration of sodium hydroxide, which barely changes. And so, we can then control this experiment, control the amount of sodium hydroxide, and only focus on the crystal violet. Okay, let's get into how we're going to want to use this. So, a couple of tools up here. The first thing you're going to want to turn on is this stopwatch. Okay, this is really nice. And you can set it to 0. So, here's what we're doing here. We're going to press play. So, here we are pouring the crystal violet into the cuvette. And I'm going to hover over up here. Now we're going to pour the sodium hydroxide in. That's when we should start our time right there. Okay, I reset the stopwatch. So now whenever I pause, it pauses my stopwatch too. Pretty nice. Now, we're not quite ready to take a measurement, even though you do want to get a few more early measurements because the change is greater. We want to wait until the lights are turned off. So there we go. So I would just pause somewhere in there. I have a time. And then remember, we're going to be using our tools of transmittance. And I did turn this on, just, and let's see. I'm not sure where this thing is going to land. Take a guess. It seems a little darker than that, doesn't it? And it's funny, you can kind of see the swirls because it's not totally mixed. I would say 63% is pretty close. So you're going to put in your time, put in your percent T, and go from there. Okay, and get all your measurements. So hopefully that works out. Once you get those in here, you'll be able to populate your graph and do the linear regression on it right up here, right? So you can curve fits. There we go. Which, of course, we can't do that yet. But you can see what's going on there. And then you should be able to figure out from the graph, based on what we're going to be doing in class, which order it is. Okay. Hope that helps. Hang in there, everybody.